All right, let's dive right into this explainer of a classic business survival guide designed specifically for overwhelmed, bottlenecked leaders. If you are a manager or a team leader who feels buried under an avalanche of problems created by other people, what we're about to cover can completely change the way you work. Have you ever found yourself, completely sacrificing your weekend just to catch up on paperwork, only to realize you're actually doing your team's work while they just wait on you? It's the ultimate paradox. You're busy working overtime, and yet whenever you see your staff in the hallways or the cafeteria, they're just waiting for you to make a decision so they can proceed. This is the fundamental management dilemma right here. You are doing way more, but accomplishing so much less. To solve this agonizing paradox, we're going to follow a pretty straightforward agenda today. 1. The manager's dilemma. 2. Identifying the monkey. 3. The 4 rules of management. 4. The path to delegation. And finally, 5. Reclaiming your time. Let's get into it. So, starting with section 1, the manager's dilemma and the trap of the rescuer boss. Let's look at this painful reality of organizational gridlock, where we genuinely think we're helping, but we are actually just rescuing our team. This whole concept comes from our foundational text for today, The 1-Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. It brilliantly explains why managers who constantly swoop in to rescue their staff actually end up destroying their own productivity. I mean, think about it. When you constantly step in to solve your team's problems, you don't just overwhelm your own schedule, you make your people completely dependent on you. You unintentionally send the message that they aren't capable of handling issues themselves, which absolutely crushes their initiative. Moving right along to section 2, identifying the monkey, the surprising culprit. Now that we've validated the very real pain of the overworked manager, let's give this organizational bottleneck a specific and honestly, a highly memorable name. So, what is a monkey? A monkey is simply the next move on a project or a problem. Picture this, okay? An employee intercepts you in the hallway with a problem, and you casually reply, let me think about it and get back to you. Well, in that exact second, that monkey, that very next actionable move, just leaped right off their back and squarely onto yours. Your employee walks away 30 pounds lighter, and you just picked up another task. Here is the really crucial point. The moment you take that monkey, a literal role reversal happens. You instantly become the worker, and your subordinate, they become the supervisor checking in on your progress. The very next day, they might stroll past your office and ask, "Hey boss, how's it coming?" It sounds crazy, but you've effectively volunteered to do their job, and now you are reporting to them. Which brings us to section 3, 4 rules of management for keeping monkeys where they belong. To stop this disastrous role reversal from happening, the authors give us a highly effective framework to make sure the right things get done by the right people. The golden rule here is that your conversations with your team literally cannot end until you have mutually completed these 4 sequential steps. This is absolutely crucial to make sure the monkey stays on the right back. We're going to break these down one by one so you can start applying them immediately with your own team. Okay, rule 1 is all about descriptions. It demands that you completely banish hazy, undefined problems by clearly describing exactly what the next actionable step is. If your employee says, "Hey, we have a problem," the conversation just cannot end there. You have to specify the exact next move. Is it obtain final cost figures? Is it draft a proposal? Clarifying that next move gives a massive boost in motivation, and it breaks these paralyzing, scary problems into bite-sized, actionable pieces. Then we have rule 2, owners. This dictates that monkeys must be handled at the lowest organizational level possible. It forces the employee to prove why you should take ownership rather than you just automatically volunteering for it. Seriously, whenever you hear an employee say, "We have a problem," a giant red flag should go up in your mind. Remind yourself, that monkey belongs to them until proven otherwise. You should only, and I mean literally only, retain the monkeys that absolutely no one else but you can handle. Now on to rule 3, insurance policies. Look, giving your people freedom requires balancing that autonomy with risk protection, right? You want to empower your team, absolutely, but you also can't afford for them to make mistakes that'll, burn the whole building down. And that is exactly where monkey insurance comes in. Every single monkey leaving your office needs one of these 2 policies. Level 1 insurance protects against those totally unaffordable mistakes by requiring your approval beforehand. They must recommend, then act. Level 2, on the other hand, gives your competent employees the freedom to just resolve the matter and simply inform you afterward. They act, then advise. So your ultimate goal here is to practice hands-off management as much as possible using level 2, and hands-on management only as much as necessary using level 1. And finally, Rule 4, feeding and checkups. This ensures monkeys don't just starve out there by setting a concrete checkup appointment. Monkeys absolutely need checkups to maintain their well-being. This lets you catch people doing things right so you can praise them, or spot problems and take corrective action way before they turn into massive crises. And just a quick aside here, remember you're not checking up on the person to snoop. You're checking on the health of the project. But before we move on from these rules, there's a harsh truth we need to face. You have to ruthlessly eliminate useless tasks. The quote says it best: "Things not worth doing are not worth doing well." Not all monkeys deserve to live. If you find yourself caring for a monkey that serves zero real purpose for the organization, don't try to manage it more efficiently. Just shoot it. Get rid of it. Moving into Section 4, the path to delegation, upgrading your output. You see, understanding the rules is really just the beginning. Now we have to leverage them to actually evolve your leadership style. So far, we've really only talked about assigning monkeys, but the true pinnacle of leadership is actual delegation. While assigning means you're doing the heavy lifting of identifying and ensuring a single task, true delegation happens when your staff manages a whole family of monkeys, like a complete project, entirely on their own. When you're just assigning, you're still pretty heavily involved in the input. But with delegation, your team applies those 4 rules to themselves, which dramatically multiplies your department's output while minimizing your required input. As a manager, your absolute ultimate goal is to coach your staff to a cruising altitude where they can independently assign their own monkeys. Because the best way to develop responsibility is to just give it. Coaching isn't about doing the work for them. It's about asking the right questions so they figure out the next moves themselves. You want to get them to the point where they arrange their own resources, set their own timelines, and build their own internal commitment to the whole shebang. And that brings us to our final section, Section 5, reclaiming your time and mastering the clock. Because once your team is successfully feeding their own monkeys, you can finally take your schedule back. There's a brilliant framework from the book that shows your organizational time is always divided into 3 distinct slices. First, you have boss-imposed time. You have to do this to satisfy your superiors because, well, the golden rule of management is that those who have the gold make the rules, right? Second is system-imposed time, which gets eaten up by administrative red tape and requests from your peers. And finally, there's self-imposed time. That's the time you actually control. And here is where it all really comes together. That's self-imposed time. It's made up of 2 things: subordinate imposed time, which is just you working on your staff's monkeys, and discretionary time. By refusing to pick up your staff's monkeys using those 4 rules we just went over, you effectively eliminate that subordinate imposed time. You completely transform that slice of the pie into precious discretionary time. Time to innovate, plan, coordinate, and truly lead your department into the future. So I want to leave you with a final, provocative question to really challenge your habits today. Who is working for who in your office? Take a look at your desk, look at your inbox, and look at your team. If you are a bottleneck holding up their progress, you have effectively become their employee. Take these tools, give those monkeys back to their rightful owners, and go completely transform the way you interact with your team from this moment forward.